When I was 11 or 12 years old, I was chilling in my grandma's house, and it was back in the days where not everyone had like laptops and iPads in every single room. There was just this one room with this one computer, and I was chilling there. And I realized that there was something deep inside me that needed to come out. Something was brewing inside me, and that something was a fart. I needed a fart really bad. And I said to myself, what's going to be the strategy here? How am I going to let this fart go? Am I just going to chill here? Am I going to keep it in? And in the end, I said, okay, I'm just going to let it go. So I did. And it was beautiful. I could hear clapping inside my head. I was like, you did a great job. You farted. This is fantastic. 2.7 seconds later, though, I started to realize that there was a lot of heat coming from the back of my pants. So I ran to the washroom to check myself. And sure enough, I had defecated into my pants. I crapped my pants. And so I took off the underwear, and I went into the sink, and I started scrubbing it, and I threw as much as I could into the toilet, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, no. I hold up the underwear, and there's this brown stain in the underwear, and I'm like, no, like, this is like criminal evidence that I need to get rid of somehow, some way. So I find like a pair of scissors, and I cut it up into little pieces, and I throw it onto the toilet, and I flush it down, and nobody ever knew about that situation until right now. And a couple of times I've told this story. Now, if that same situation were to happen to me today, it would be a completely different story. Like, even if it happened to me right before this talk, I wouldn't have cared. I would have been like, oh my God, I crapped my pants, so funny. I would have taken out my pants, taken pictures of it, sent it over to my friends. Look, everybody, like, and they would have said like, oh, it's the enchiladas from last night, blah, blah, blah. So I wouldn't care about that kind of situation. And like, I even have this one friend who said this beautiful quote. He said, just because you crap your pants doesn't mean you can't have the best day of your life. And it's a beautiful quote. It's very true. And, but anyways, I wasn't always this way. I wasn't always like just chill about these kinds of things that happen in my life. When I was first coming to the school around the fart era, when I was 11 or 12 years old, I was coming to the school and I was very nervous. I was always like very uptight. I didn't feel good about myself because I am in a conservative city, Monterey. And in a conservative city, the aim of a conservative city is to conserve the city as it is, to conserve the society as it is. And they do this by implementing some sort of strategy, right? So for example, if someone were to act outside the social boundaries that have been set, they single out that person. They pick on them, or they do something to them so that they don't want to act outside of the boundaries, right? That's how a conservative society works. And it works great with a lot of examples, like if someone's a thief or a murderer, that works great. But it doesn't work as great when someone acts even slightly outside of these boundaries, right? If you step right outside the boundary, people still pick on you and they still single you out, right? Which is a problem. For example, when I came to this school, you could only be cool if you wore jeans. If you did not have jeans, you were a loser and you had no friends. If you wore jeans, you're all right, you're good to go, no worries. So that's what I did. I wore jeans every single day of my life. But this one day, it was insanely hot outside. It must have been 655,000 degrees Celsius or something like that. Like, people in the street were walking outside, like, melting, like, sweating, like, oh my God. Somebody yelled out to the sky, like, please, God, kill me and take me to hell, because it can't be hotter than this. People were yelling all sorts of crazy things. And I look outside the window and I'm thinking, okay, it's a pretty hot day, right? I'm going to strategize here. I'm going to put some shorts on. So I put some, like, athletic-looking shorts, you know, to, like, the top of the knee kind of thing. And I went to school and I'm thinking, this is a great strategy. This is an even better strategy than the fart strategy. It's going to work great. So I'm going to school. I'm feeling good. And the first step I take through the front door, first guy that sees me goes, Michael Jordan, man, you playing some hoops tonight, woo, woo. I'm like, no, man, like, I'm just, you know, it's kind of hot outside. Like, nah, come on, Michael, we playing hoops tonight, baby. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, man. And the rest of my day went like that. Everybody picked on me because I had shorts on, right? It's classic. And in fact, the rest of my career in the school kind of went like that. Anytime I stepped slightly outside the boundary, this circle, slightly outside the circle, somebody would pick on me, somebody would look at me, blah, blah, blah. So I decided to not act like my true self, right? And my true self was deep inside me. It stayed right in there, and it didn't come out for a very long time. I remember I was like, I can still like picture myself walking down the lockers in the hallways, people with their backpacks, taking out their stuff, blah, blah. And I'm walking down and thinking to myself, like, how am I supposed to act? How am I supposed to feel? Instead of just being the person that I was, right? Excuse me. And that's what happened, you know. I kind of lived this sort of life where it was kind of like almost sleepwalking in a way. It was a zombie-like experience. And this all changed this one day when I got expelled from this school. I was sitting in a classroom, and this girl comes up to me and says to me, hey, we found the final exam in the teacher's laptop. Why don't you grab it and steal it? The teacher really likes you, so you won't get into too much trouble if you steal the exam. I was like, this is an amazing strategy. This is a better strategy than the shorts, better strategy than the fart. This is phenomenal, 10 out of 10. So I go over and I steal the exam and I send it to the two girls. I send it over to them and they say, thank you. And I say, you're welcome. Please do not send this exam to anyone else. They said, of course not. We would never do that. The very next day, the entire generation had the exam. I remember even like my cousin, like my grandma was like, hey, I got the exam in case you need it. Like everybody had the exam. I was like, great. So, things started to kind of like spread around, rumors started to spread, et cetera, et cetera. People found out it was me, and I end up in the principal's office, and he says to me, pick up that phone and call your father and tell him you've been caught for stealing an exam and you might be expelled. So that was a huge point right there in my life. Like I knew everything was gonna change, and it was a catastrophe. Like at the time I had a girlfriend, and I had to go up to the parents and say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. blah, blah, blah. I just got expelled. Can I still date your daughter? Like I felt like I had this stamp on my forehead, the kid that got expelled. That's what it felt like. And I was walking everyone, I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? I just got expelled, man. I felt like before I got expelled, I had this plan, this step-by-step thing that I was gonna do, that society had kind of told me how I was supposed to live. You go to school, you go to university, you go to this, you get a job, and married, and a church, and all this stuff. And that's how I thought I was gonna live my life, right? This tunnel thing, right? But when I got expelled, it went straight left. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do here? What's gonna happen to me? It was horrible. But then something strange happened. Things started to kind of like spread around, right? Things started to kind of like ease off. And I wasn't feeling that bad about myself. I was going to this new school. I only had this one semester left to graduate from university. And I was going to this new school, the only school that would accept me because I only had one semester left. It was this open high school where I got into the building. There were no teachers, no classrooms, no classes, no nothing. It was just a secretary, and she was like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, pretty good. I think I need 5 courses to graduate. She's like, yeah, I think you need 5 courses. Here's 5 textbooks, read them. At the end of the semester, there's an exam. Whenever whatever grade you get in that exam is the grade you get for the course. That's it. No classes, no teachers, no nothing. So I had to be by myself at home, sitting there, studying by myself. And it felt really good for the first time, because my whole life in school, I had been doing it through the scope of, I am being forced to do this. I am being forced to study, blah, blah, blah. And in this new situation that I was in, I was sitting at home studying by myself. It felt fantastic. I was like developing this like self-discipline kind of thing. I felt independent. I was like, man, this feels pretty good. And I started to realize, like, wait a minute here. I got expelled from school, and I still feel pretty good with my life. Like, I didn't follow those steps that I was told I was supposed to follow, and I still feel pretty good with my life. This is crazy. This is amazing. So I felt this like sort of lightness, this like sense of lightness in my life, and I was like, okay, great, I'm gonna live my life now. This is sweet. So I graduated from the school, I passed all my courses, and I went over to Victoria, British Columbia in 2 years. I love that place, it's amazing. It's basically like my life is divided by before Victoria, British Columbia, and after Victoria, British Columbia. This place is a place that's so liberal. It's just like a bunch of hippies dancing around, throwing flowers everywhere, like, la 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 la, I love life. You go to a Starbucks and the girl receives you like, hi there, how's it going today? What would you like what coffee would you like, or whatever. People are just so nice and so kind, and I had never experienced a society like that in my life. My whole life I was in Monterey. And who I thought I was based on what people told me in Monterey. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. Okay, that's who I am, right? But in Victoria, people were saying things to me I never even considered about myself. This one random guy comes up to me really casually and says, hey, you're a pretty cool guy, man. I was like, all right, thanks, man. Oh my God, he just called me cool? Maybe I am a cool guy, man. Maybe I'm pretty cool. I was still a loser, but I felt pretty cool. I felt pretty cool. Anyways, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, things started to kind of change in my mind. I was going to all these crazy classes in university. I was smoking marijuana for the first time. So much marijuana, it was invading my mind. I was going to all these classes. I wasn't sleeping. I was talking to all these people. Victoria, British Columbia, and everything starts to accelerate so much. Things were going so fast in my life. And I got to a point, a month in being in Victoria, British Columbia, where I was sitting in the middle of the street at 4:30 in the morning, talking to this camera about this new person that I was gonna be. Hey everybody, I just discovered who I am. This is amazing, this is inspirational. I'm gonna talk about this, I'm gonna talk about that. And I just started this YouTube channel, and I'm just like going really fast. I'm not making much sense. And I had these like rabbit ears on, and I put music on the video, and I'm dancing and doing all this and that and this and that. And I upload the video to YouTube immediately. I put it on my Facebook wall. I wanted everyone to see this video. My dad saw the video too. And he called me and he says, hey, something's not quite right, man. We need you to come back to Mexico. And so I went back to Mexico. And all of a sudden, I went from the highest of highs I'd ever felt in my life in Victoria to the lowest of lows in Monterey. I was completely depressed. I did not feel good. What I went through was a manic phase or a bipolar phase. You go up and you go down really hard. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, this really sucks. Like I had just become this one person that I really wanted to be in Victoria, and that got ripped into pieces, and now I'm just this guy. And now I have a new stamp on my forehead that says, the guy that has mental issues. Everybody saw that video. Everybody saw me doing everything that I was doing in Victoria, and it didn't feel really good. It didn't feel good with my family. It didn't feel good with anyone. But at the same time, once again, things started to kind of ease off. And I felt not that bad anymore. I was like, okay, I need to get back on my feet here, see, assess the situation. And I realized, okay, I just went through mental issues, and things are still pretty much the same. It was the exact same thing when I first got expelled. I went through this whole torment, this huge storm, and oh my God. But then when things settled, it was all pretty much the same. Maybe people were talking about me differently amongst themselves, but that didn't concern me. What concerned me was my perspective was as to how I saw these people, and these people were talking to me the exact same way. Nothing had changed. Things were pretty much the same. I was like, this is amazing, man. And once again, I felt this sense of lightness in my life. And 6 months after being in Monterey, my parents gave me the opportunity to go back to Victoria. And I was really excited. It was a completely new Victoria. I wasn't going to do anything crazy. I was going to be chill. And I lived an amazing life for 4 years in Victoria. Then I graduated. And then I moved over to Toronto, Ontario, where I live right now. And I moved over there, and I got this job at a production company because I wanted to be in the film industry. And I felt excited about my life. I was like, man, I have this job. I'm making this money. I'm independent. I pay for everything. This is amazing. Now I have this brand new identity. I have a career, and I felt great. And then when I would go to a dinner table or a dinner party, people would ask me, Rodrigo, what do you do with your life, man? And I'm like, oh, where do I get started? I'm the associate producer / office manager of this very important production company in Toronto, Ontario. The future looks bright for me. My life is fantastic. Everything is great. People would clap at me like, wow, this guy's living an amazing life, fantastic. But deep inside, I didn't feel very good because I didn't feel like myself. I was back to that first manual of how you're supposed to live your life. And on the outside, I felt good, but on the inside, something wasn't quite right. I wasn't enjoying my life. I got so stressed in this job, so many emails and all this stuff, my mind was never fully rested. And I would go home so stressed out, and the only thing I wanted to do was escape reality. I did 2 things in my life, work and escape reality. And so I would get home, and I had 6 packs of beer in my fridge, and I would drink them, and I would eat all this food, order Uber Eats, watch Netflix. That's all I did. I was getting fat and gaining all this weight, and I was like, what's going on? I cannot control myself. I'm only working, getting stressed out, and then I'm escaping my reality. That's all I did for a year that I was in that job. But I was afraid to quit because I had this identity, this new identity. Who am I now? I am this guy that has a career and has a future and has this and has that, and everybody thinks of me this way, and this is amazing, this is fantastic. Wow, great. But I was afraid to quit. But then I thought back to the 2 times when I had a manic phase, when I got expelled, and I realized that it's going to be okay if I quit my job. I'll figure it out somehow. So after a year of being in this place, plus I want to add in, though, the people that I worked with in that company were amazing. I owe them everything. They're fantastic. If you guys are watching, it wasn't them specifically. It was the framework of the job that really made me feel really bad. They're really good people. And I really appreciate everything they did for me. But anyways, so I quit my job, and that's where I'm at right now. What I do for a living is I'm an Uber driver. I drive 4 or 5 hours in the morning, and then I spend the rest of my day doing whatever I want to do. But if I go to a dinner table, people ask me, what do you do for a living? And I say, oh, I'm an Uber driver, and people go, well, okay, whatever. But they don't know that deep inside I feel really good. I have this sense of lightness back in my life because I drive for 4 to 5 hours in the morning, and then I spend the rest of my day doing whatever it is that I want to do. I like making YouTube videos. I have this big dream that I want to go to the Winter Olympics as a cross-country skier representing Mexico, so I train for that every day in Toronto. I'm moving to a new city to train for that as well. It's fantastic. Things are great, and things are great in the inside, but maybe to some people it doesn't look that great because it's oh, he's an Uber driver. Where's his career? Where's this? Where's that? Right? But to me, I feel great. I realized that my whole life I'd been looking for this one thing that I now have. This one thing that makes me wake up in the morning and say to myself, okay, this is my life. I'm happy. I'm feeling good. I'm going to do this. It's the one thing that I kind of ignored my whole life and I never really had until this point right now. That sense of lightness. And that sense of lightness that I've been talking about this whole time is freedom. Thank you very much.